Chapter 1. The First Appointment. The soft chime of the studio door broke through the quiet hum of spa music, barely noticeable against the warm scent of eucalyptus and lavender that wrapped around the room like a gentle fog. Joey glanced at the time, 5:45 p.m., his last client for the day. He stood from the couch in the lounge and stretched, his muscles flexing under the snug black tee he wore. His frame was unmistakably strong, thick legs that carried his weight with quiet confidence, arms toned from years of hands-on work, and a body shaped not by vanity, but by function. His moreno skin gleamed under the dim lights, warm and clean, giving him a glow that seemed effortless. He moved with a calm energy, one that said, "I've done this 100 times," but with a smile that felt fresh every single time. As he stepped into the hallway, he wore his signature, a cute, disarming smile with a hint of mischief and charm. It made people feel at ease. Clients always commented on his eyes, how warm and beautiful they were, how they seemed to laugh even when he didn't say much. But Joey? He laughed to keep things light. He smiled so no one would ask what was behind it. "Good evening, sir," he said as he approached the man near the door. "First time here?" The guy looked up and smiled politely. Tall, at least a head taller than Joey, with fair skin and sharp, clean features. His white button-up shirt was slightly wrinkled at the sleeves, navy slacks tailored just enough to show he had taste, not flash. His shoes were damp at the edges. Rain outside, maybe? "Yeah," the man said, brushing a hand through neatly styled hair. "Someone at work told me to check this place out. Said, 'Your hands are life-changing.'" Joey let out a soft chuckle, more amused than flattered. "They say that until the pressure hits. Then they start crying for their moms." The man laughed, and the tension in his shoulders eased. "Adrian," he said, offering his hand. Joey shook it. Firm grip, no more than a second. "Joey." There was a brief pause. Joey tilted his head slightly, still smiling. "Room 3's yours. Undress to your comfort level and lie face down. I'll knock in a few." "Got it." Joey lingered for a moment, watching the curtains sway gently before turning to prep the oils and warm towels. He wasn't expecting anything special tonight. He never did. A few minutes later, Joey entered the room. Adrian was already lying on the table, the sheet covering him from the waist down. His back was pale, dotted with small freckles near the shoulder blades. His clothes were folded neatly on the chair, shoes tucked under. Joey scanned him quickly, habitually. There was slight tension around the trapezius, more down the lower spine. Desk job. Probably long hours, maybe stress, maybe more. He dimmed the lights to a soft amber and rubbed oil between his palms until it warmed. The room was quiet, safe, cocooned from the outside world. "Ready?" Joey asked softly. Adrian gave a small nod without turning. Joey began. His strokes were long and fluid at first, spreading warmth across Adrian's upper back. Each pass was precise, intentional. He worked silently, mapping the muscles with touch rather than sight. His fingers pressed deeper, kneading at the base of Adrian's neck, moving lower along the spine. Adrian sighed, melting under Joey's touch. Joey said nothing. He didn't talk unless the client did first. Not because he was cold, but because his energy was sacred, guarded. He was here to heal muscles, not hearts. "Wow," Adrian mumbled, half dazed. "You weren't kidding. This really is something else." Joey smiled to himself. "I do what I can." Then silence again. That was how Joey liked it. He moved lower, gliding down Adrian's sides with firm but careful pressure. His thumbs traced around the curve of the waist, then up again in long sweeps. As he worked down to the hips and upper legs, he noticed the way Adrian's breath hitched slightly. Not out of discomfort, something else. Joey said nothing. He felt the tension there. Emotional, not muscular. A kind of quiet craving most clients didn't admit. But Joey didn't ask. He didn't need to. When his hands reached the thighs, he slowed down. His palms pressed deep, rolling the muscles gently, firmly. Adrian's calves twitched slightly in response. Joey shifted his weight, leaned in, and murmured softly, "Let me know if I need to stop." Adrian shook his head slowly. "No. This is good." The session continued in a rhythm. Touch, breath, release. By the time Joey was done, Adrian's body was slack, almost boneless. He had melted into the table, his chest rising and falling in a steady lull. Joey stepped away quietly, wiped his hands, and tapped Adrian's shoulder gently. "We're done, sir." Adrian blinked his eyes open, slowly pushing himself up. His hair was slightly mussed, cheeks flushed. He looked at Joey and smiled, not out of politeness, but something softer, grateful, light. "That was incredible," he said, voice low. Joey gave a small smile, folding the towel. "Glad you liked it." He turned to leave, but paused when Adrian spoke again. "Do you do private sessions? Like, outcall?" Joey didn't miss a beat. He looked at Adrian directly. "No relationships, no attachments. I keep things simple." Adrian looked caught off guard for a second, but then nodded, almost smiling. "Didn't mean anything like that. Just asking." Joey's smile returned, faint but real. "I'm straightforward. You'll get used to it." Adrian chuckled softly, collecting his things. "See you next week?" Joey asked casually, already knowing the answer. Yeah, I think so." As Adrian left, Joey stood behind the counter again, watching the glass door close with a soft chime. The room was quiet again. The music still played. He didn't know Adrian's story. He didn't need to. But something about the way Adrian lingered. It stayed with him longer than it should have. Chapter 2. A Gentle Offer. It had been a week since Adrian's first visit. Joey barely remembered names, but Adrian stuck. Not because he flirted or stood out with some flashy personality. No. Adrian was quiet, polite, respectful. There was something about him that wasn't trying to get noticed. And maybe that was exactly what made him impossible to forget. He didn't look at Joey like others did, with hunger or fantasy in their eyes. He looked with something softer, something genuine. Joey noticed that. And maybe that's why, as 6 p.m. neared, he found himself checking the mirror a little longer, adjusting his shirt, running a hand over his neatly clipped hair. Not that it mattered. This was just work. He didn't get attached. The chime rang right on time. Adrian stepped in, hair slightly tousled from the drizzle outside. He wore another dress shirt today, pale gray with the sleeves rolled neatly to his forearms, exposing lean but toned arms. He looked freshly pressed, but the way he moved, just slightly tired, slightly stiff, said his day hadn't been easy. Joey was already wiping down the counter when he saw him. "You came back." Adrian offered a lopsided grin. "I said I would." Joey tilted his head, smirking. "People say a lot of things." There was a beat of silence. Not tense, just familiar. Then they both chuckled. "I've been looking forward to this all week," Adrian admitted as he glanced around the now familiar studio. "It's been rough." Joey picked up a clean towel, his tone still light. "Sounds like someone needs more than a neck rub." Adrian raised an eyebrow playfully. "Should I be worried you're reading me that easily?" Joey shrugged with a teasing glint in his eye. "I don't read people. I read muscles. Room 3's open." Adrian nodded, heading down the hall. Joey watched him go, that now familiar tug in his chest tightening slightly. Just another client. Don't think too much. When he entered the room a few minutes later, Adrian was already on the table, body covered by the sheet, his shirt and slacks folded neatly over the chair again. Same as before. Predictable. Considerate. Joey dimmed the lights, lit a lavender-infused candle on the shelf, and warmed the oil between his palms until it glistened golden. "Back again so soon," Joey said as he stood beside the table. "Should I be flattered?" Adrian, already face down, laughed into the cradle. "Just means you're good at what you do." Joey smirked as he placed his hands on Adrian's shoulders, beginning with long, slow strokes. His thumbs dug in deep at first, feeling out the tension hiding between bone and muscle. Adrian groaned, low and genuine. God, I needed this. You're stiff, Joey noted calmly. Too much work, not enough rest. Story of my life, Adrian murmured, voice drowsy. Feels like I've been clenching my jaw for days straight. Joey's fingers moved lower, skillfully finding every knot, every pocket of stress. Adrian relaxed quickly, like his body remembered what Joey's hands could do. As he worked, Joey fell into rhythm, his breath syncing with the rise and fall of Adrian's back. The atmosphere wrapped around them like a fog, soft music, warm air, the occasional sound of Joey's skin sliding over oiled muscle. The lower Joey moved, the quieter the room became. When he reached Adrian's thighs, something shifted. Joey felt it, not just the tension in muscle, but something more. Subtle. Emotional. A lingering pause in Adrian's breath. A twitch. A heat that wasn't just from the oil. Joey paused. He had rules. He didn't offer extras often, but he wasn't stupid. He could read a room, and this room was charged. His voice came soft, low. Do you want extra release today? Adrian froze, not in fear, just surprise. The silence that followed felt like a ripple through still water. Joey didn't turn to see his face. He just continued rubbing slow, circular motions along the inner thigh, not pushing, just waiting. Adrian's voice came quietly. Only if it's okay with you. Joey's answer was a calm, neutral nod. I offered, didn't I? No more words. Joey slipped the sheet lower, just enough to reveal what he needed. His movements didn't change in pace, still slow, still gentle. This wasn't lust. It wasn't performance. It was an extension of care. Physical, yes, but not dirty, not transactional. Adrian's breath trembled once, then steadied. Joey's hands worked carefully, attentively. He used pressure where it mattered, contact where it counted. He watched the way Adrian's body reacted, the way he held back sound, the way his toes curled gently. Every movement was sensitive, not just for pleasure, but to keep it safe, intimate, but quiet. When Adrian finally came, it was silent. No moaning, no heavy gasps, just a long, drawn-out exhale that felt like surrender. Joey stepped away, wiped his hands, and reached for the warm towel. He cleaned Adrian with practiced grace, no fumbling, no hesitation. Then he pulled the sheet back over his body, covering him again with care. He returned to the lower legs, finishing the massage like nothing had happened. A few more strokes, a quiet pause, then a tap on Adrian's shoulder. All done. Adrian sat up slowly, still in a haze. His cheeks were flushed, his lips slightly parted. His shirtless body shimmered faintly from the residue of oil. He looked at Joey, really looked. Thank you. Joey grabbed a cloth, drying his hands. It's just part of the job. Adrian's gaze lingered, but it didn't feel like that. Joey's eyes met his, and for a second, the air between them tightened. Then he looked away. Don't overthink it. Adrian dressed slowly, folding his clothes the same way he always did. But everything felt a little different now. His limbs looser, his chest fuller, his head a little lighter, and heavier at the same time. Before leaving, he stood by the curtain, hesitating. Joey glanced up. Same time next week? Adrian asked, voice casual, but his eyes searching. Joey gave that same unreadable smile. If you want. The curtain fell back into place. The chime rang again. And Joey stood in the quiet, the scent of lavender still lingering, his hands resting on the counter, still thoughtful. He didn't offer that kind of release often. He never did it twice with the same client. But somehow, he already knew. Adrian was coming back. Chapter 3. This is me. The third appointment came faster than either of them expected. Adrian arrived 15 minutes early. He sat in the lounge, scrolling mindlessly through his phone, pretending he wasn't watching the hallway for any sign of Joey. His stomach felt weird, tight, fluttering. He told himself it was nothing, just a long day, just nerves. But he couldn't lie to himself anymore. He liked Joey, more than he should, more than Joey probably wanted. And the worst part? He wasn't expecting anything. He just wanted to be near him. When Joey finally walked out from the back room, wiping his hands with a towel, Adrian's breath hitched slightly. The man looked the same as always. Tight black shirt hugging his body, joggers hanging loose over strong, solid legs, short hair clean and styled, neat, effortless, beautiful. Joey didn't smile right away, but his eyes softened when they met Adrian's. "You're early," he said. Adrian stood, brushing imaginary lint from his pants. "Work ended early. Figured I'd wait." Joey gave a non-committal hum, walking past him with the casual grace Adrian had come to admire. "Room 3's open." Adrian followed, his footsteps quiet, heart loud. He watched the way Joey moved, so sure of himself, so grounded. He envied that. Joey looked like a man who had everything figured out, while Adrian constantly felt like he was trying to hold himself together with invisible thread. Inside the room, Adrian took off his clothes slowly, folding them with care. He paused at the edge of the table, running a hand through his hair. Then he lay face down, letting out a long breath. It was almost a ritual now. When Joey returned, the room dimmed gently with soft golden light. The lavender candle flickered in the corner, and the music, soft piano and synth, filled the air like a whisper. Joey didn't speak at first. He never did. He warmed the oil quietly, rubbing it between his palms until it glistened. Then, without a word, he placed his hands on Adrian's back, beginning the session. The first few strokes were slow, deliberate. Each passed down Adrian's spine, drawing a sigh from him. Joey's hands were strong but gentle, firm but never rushed. His touch was the kind that made Adrian forget where he was, forget who he had to be outside that room. Adrian melted. Everything in him softened. He let go. Midway through the massage, Joey's thumbs pressed into the curve above Adrian's hips. Adrian inhaled sharply, not in pain, but something else. The touch grounded him, reminded him of last week, of how Joey made him feel, seen, safe, wanted, even if just for a moment. "I needed this," Adrian murmured. Joey didn't stop. "Long week?" Adrian exhaled into the face cradle. "Long life." That made Joey chuckle. It was soft, like a cloud brushing glass. "Tell me about it." They fell into silence again, but it was heavier this time, dense with unspoken things. Joey's hands slowed, drifting lower, working his thighs with care. He noticed the way Adrian breathed, deep, shaky. There was tension in his legs that wasn't from stress. It was want, ache, emotion. Adrian hesitated, then spoke. "What you did last time." Joey didn't react. His hands kept moving. "Yeah?" Adrian swallowed. "It meant something to me." Joey's hands stopped. The music continued. The candle flickered, but the energy in the room changed. Joey stepped back slightly, oil still glistening on his fingers. When he spoke, his voice was calm, but firmer than before. "Adrian." Adrian turned his head slightly, eyes meeting Joey's across the low glow of the room. He didn't see anger or awkwardness, just honesty. "I need to be real with you," Joey said. His voice was low, measured. "I don't do relationships. I don't flirt. I don't date. I don't fall." He let the words hang between them, solid as stone. "That's not who I am," he continued. "I like my space. I like my peace. I give what I give, but it doesn't go past that." He waited. Adrian didn't look away. He just absorbed it. Every word, every wall Joey had carefully placed between them. After a long pause, Adrian nodded. Okay. One word. No protest. No plea. Just quiet acceptance. Joey looked down, almost surprised. Most people pushed. Most people tried to peel the walls away. But Adrian didn't. He just breathed. I get it, Adrian added softly. You don't owe me anything. Joey nodded once and returned to the massage, but slower now. Not because he was trying to be sensual or distant, because something in him had shifted. He respected Adrian's restraint, his kindness, his refusal to push. After the massage, Adrian sat up, oil still glistening across his bare chest. He didn't move to dress right away. He sat there, elbows on knees, eyes low. Joey leaned back against the counter, arms crossed. Adrian finally looked up. You don't have to explain, he said. I understand. Joey stared at him. Then, he spoke. His voice was quieter now, not rehearsed. I've been through things. First love, first heartbreak. It wasn't just pain. It was betrayal. He paused, swallowing hard. I gave too much. And when it ended, I didn't know who I was without him. The room was silent. I don't want to go through that again, he said finally. So I stopped trying. I stopped hoping. Adrian's eyes shimmered, but he didn't cry. He didn't move. I'm not asking you to hope, he said softly. And I'm not trying to change you. He stood slowly, pulling his shirt over his shoulders. You don't have to love me, Joey, he added. I just like being near you. That's enough for me. Joey blinked. No one had ever said that to him before. Adrian turned to leave, then paused at the curtain. Next week? Joey hesitated, then nodded. If you want. The chime rang softly as the door closed behind him. And Joey stood in the quiet, the scent of lavender still thick in the air, his chest rising and falling with something he didn't want to name. He told Adrian, "This is me," and somehow, Adrian stayed anyway. Chapter 4. The Quiet Kind of Love. The weeks passed quietly, but they left fingerprints. Adrian kept coming, same day, same time, always early by a few minutes, always bringing a quiet smile, a polite, "Hey," and sometimes coffee. I figured you'd be tired by this hour, he said once, holding out a warm cup. Joey took it without a word. Their fingers touched briefly. Joey pulled away first. Still, he drank it. Adrian never asked for more, not physically, not emotionally. And yet, he gave so much in the small things. The way he waited without complaint. The way he laughed at Joey's dry humor. The way he always looked at him like he was more than just hands in service. Joey noticed everything. And that was the problem. The massages stayed the same. At least on the surface. Each week, Adrian would lie on the table and let Joey work, letting out soft sighs with every knot Joey pressed away. But underneath it, a rhythm had formed between them. A quiet routine that felt more like a ritual. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they didn't. But every moment between them was intimate. Joey caught himself lingering, his hands resting a second longer on Adrian's back, his eyes watching Adrian dress in the low light, his chest tightening. When Adrian waved goodbye through the glass door, he hated that. Joey wasn't supposed to feel anything. He'd promised himself that years ago. Then one evening, Adrian didn't show up. Joey didn't think much of it at first. People canceled, people ghosted. He didn't take it personally. Except, it wasn't just a no-show. It was the absence. The kind that made the clock tick louder. The kind that made the room colder. He found himself checking the door every time it chimed, only to feel disappointed when it was someone else. When he wiped the massage table that night, it felt emptier. It annoyed him, because he shouldn't care. But he did. 3 days later, Adrian came back. Rain poured outside. He stepped in, soaked and quiet, his usual dress shirt clinging to his slim frame. His hair dripped, and his expression was apologetic. "Sorry I missed last time," he said, setting his bag down carefully. "My brother got into an accident. I had to fly home for a few days." Joey looked at him, expression unreadable. But inside, a wave of something he didn't want to name crashed through him. "Is he okay?" Joey's voice was quieter than usual. "Yeah, minor fracture. He's stubborn. Said I shouldn't worry, but I had to go." Joey handed him a towel. Adrian dried his hair, then smiled. "I missed this." Joey said nothing, but his chest eased. That session was different. Joey's hands were slower, more thoughtful. Adrian noticed. He didn't speak, but he breathed differently. Like he knew that Joey was saying something, through every touch. When Joey's fingers brushed his shoulder blades, Adrian closed his eyes and whispered, This makes me feel human again." Joey paused, hard in his throat, then continued, saying nothing, but his touch softened. Later, as Adrian dressed, he glanced at Joey. "I know you don't want anything complicated," he said, buttoning his shirt. "And I respect that." Joey watched him, from the corner of the room. Adrian smiled, not with hope, but with something steadier. "I'm not here to change your mind. I just want to be someone you can trust." Joey's jaw tensed. "I don't trust people easily." "I know," Adrian replied, "but I'm not people. I'm just me." He left with that, giving Joey a small, tired wave. And when the door shut behind him, Joey stood frozen in place, his hands still holding the towel. He hadn't finished folding. That night, Joey dreamed of Adrian's voice. Not what he said, just the sound of it. Chapter 5. Maybe, one day. The rain didn't stop for hours. It fell like grief, soft and constant, soaking the glass windows of the studio in silver streaks. The world outside blurred. Lights melted into puddles. Footsteps faded into silence. Joey stood at the front counter, pretending to clean. It was nearly closing time, and the only sound was the quiet hum of the playlist he always used. Piano, strings, the occasional breath of wind. His last appointment had canceled, but Adrian hadn't. Joey wasn't sure if that meant anything. He hadn't heard from him in a week. No calls, no messages, no cancellation notice, just nothing. He hated how much that bothered him. He hated how his eyes kept flicking to the clock. He hated that his hands itched to feel something, other than the emptiness he'd carefully built his life around. And then, softly, almost too quietly to notice, the door chime rang. Joey didn't react, not right away, but his heart did. Adrian stood in the doorway, his umbrella folded, hair damp, shoulders slightly slouched. Like the rain had soaked deeper than just his clothes. He looked tired, not physically, but the kind of tired that starts in the soul and seeps into your bones. Joey didn't speak, neither did Adrian. They just looked at each other, for too long, until Adrian finally broke the silence. "Do you have time?" Joey glanced at the schedule on the wall. It was empty. It had been empty for an hour. He nodded. "Yeah." Adrian walked past him, moving slowly. Joey watched him go, watched the way his back curled just a little, like he was carrying something heavy. And maybe he was. Maybe they both were. The room was quiet when Joey returned. Adrian was already on the table. This time he hadn't even folded his shirt. It lay crumpled on the chair. His belt unbuckled, pants halfway off, like he just didn't have the energy to pretend. Joey didn't comment. He lit the candle, dimmed the lights, warmed the oil. The music began again, but Joey barely heard it. He placed his hands on Adrian's shoulders and started. And everything felt different. Adrian didn't just melt this time. He broke. His body trembled under Joey's hands, not from cold, not from touch, but from something deeper, the kind of shaking that comes when you've been holding yourself together for too long and finally let someone see the cracks. Joey said nothing, but his hands slowed, gentle, intentional. He moved down Adrian's back, like he was afraid of breaking him further. His thumbs pressed soft circles. His fingers traced the edges of every knot, every memory stored in muscle. Adrian breathed out, voice cracked. "I'm sorry I disappeared." Joey didn't answer. "I thought staying away would help," Adrian continued. "I thought maybe if I stopped coming, you wouldn't miss me." His voice broke at the end. "Just a little." Joey paused, then whispered, "But I did." The words hung in the air, like steam. Adrian turned his head, eyes glassy, lips slightly parted. "Then why?" Joey didn't look at him, because if he did, everything he'd been guarding would fall apart. "I don't know how to love anymore," Joey admitted, barely louder than a breath. "Not the right way." Adrian stayed quiet. Joey's hands moved lower, working down Adrian's spine, his hips, the back of his thighs. Every touch was delicate, reverent. Adrian closed his eyes. "I wasn't asking you to love me," he whispered. "I was just hoping you'd let me love you." That silenced Joey, his hands stilled. The room felt heavier. The candle flickered against the quiet tension in the air. Joey's throat tightened. He blinked down at Adrian's back. The slope of it, the slight rise and fall of his breath, the skin he'd touched a dozen times, the man who had never demanded anything, but gave everything without asking. "I'm scared," Joey said finally. Adrian smiled, soft and sad. "Me too." The rest of the session passed in near silence. Joey finished the massage. Not with technical perfection, but with care. The kind of care that doesn't show in technique, but in intention, in presence, in restraint. When he tapped Adrian's shoulder, Adrian didn't sit up right away. He just lay there, letting the moment linger. Then, slowly, he pushed himself up, sitting at the edge of the table, hair messy, eyes red, but not from tears, just emotion. Joey stood by the wall, arms crossed, expression guarded, but his eyes looked different. Tired, worried, open. Adrian looked at him, trying to smile. "You know, I never came here hoping you'd fall for me." Joey raised a brow. "No?" Adrian shook his head. "I came here hoping I'd fall out of love with you." Joey's breath caught. Adrian chuckled softly, rubbing his eyes. Didn't work. A pause. Joey stepped forward, only a little, close enough for Adrian to hear him clearly. "Then why did you keep coming back?" Adrian looked up at him. "Because love doesn't need to be returned to be real." Joey swallowed hard. He wanted to say something. Anything. But every word he knew felt too small. So instead, he reached out. Not to kiss, not to hold, just to brush Adrian's cheek with the back of his hand. It was the gentlest thing he had done. Adrian leaned into the touch, closed his eyes, and then pulled away. "I should go," he said, standing, grabbing his shirt. Joey nodded quietly. "Okay." Adrian didn't ask to see him next week, didn't say he'd come back, and Joey didn't ask him to. The door opened. The chime rang. Rain still poured outside. Joey stood alone in the quiet. Hands empty, heart full. Maybe this was goodbye, maybe not. But it was real, and that was enough. For now.